The bearded dragon costs $60. That is the number on the tag at the pet store. That is the number you tell your spouse. That is the number you have in your head when you walk in on a Saturday afternoon and walk out with a lizard, and it is the smallest number you will ever pay for this animal. I am not saying that to scare you off. I am saying it because almost nobody tells you the real figure before you are already committed, and by the time you find out, the animal is sitting in your living room and the money is already spent. So let us do it properly. 7 costs, smallest to largest, and at the end I will give you the total for year 1, the total for every year after, and the number that really matters, which is what this animal costs across its entire life. Some of these you have thought about. The last 2 are the ones that end up on rehoming posts. Number 7, the dragon. $60 to $100 at a chain pet store. $200 to $400 from a specialty breeder. More if you want a specific morph. Here is the thing that surprises people. The expensive one is usually the better deal. A breeder dragon comes from known parents, with a known hatch date, raised on a proper diet under proper lighting, and it has not spent 3 weeks in a display tank sharing space with 6 other babies competing for food. The cheap dragon frequently arrives with parasites, metabolic bone disease already underway, or a respiratory infection, and any one of those turns into a vet bill that costs more than the entire difference in price. So the animal is the cheapest line item on this list, and is also the one place where spending more actually saves you money. Remember that, because it is about to stop being true. Number 6. Substrate and decor. $20 to $60 to start, and then a slow drip forever. This is the cheap category, and it is the one people obsess over because it is the fun part. Backgrounds, branches, hammocks, hides, basking rocks. You will spend money here. Everyone does. What actually matters is far more boring than what gets sold to you. A basking platform that puts the dragon at the right distance from the light. A hide it can fully disappear into. A substrate that is not loose particulate for a young dragon. That is it. That is the requirement. Everything else is decoration, and decoration is fine. But understand that you are buying it for you, not for the lizard. Budget $40 up front, and maybe $30 a year replacing things as they get soiled or outgrown. Number 5. Supplements. $15 for 2 small containers. Replace 2 or 3 times a year. Call it $40 annually. Calcium powder and a multivitamin. That is the whole category. It is the single cheapest thing on this list. It is also the thing that, when skipped, produces the most expensive outcome on this list. Metabolic bone disease is the number 1 preventable illness in captive bearded dragons. It is caused by a calcium and vitamin D pathway that fails without supplementation and proper UVB, and it is not fully reversible. A dragon that develops it can end up with deformed limbs, a soft jaw, and a permanently reduced quality of life. $40 a year. Versus condition that can cost hundreds to manage and never fully goes away. That is the trade you are making every time you dust an insect or do not. Number 4. Electricity. $8 to $20 a month, depending on where you live and what your rates look like. Nobody thinks about this one. Never shows up on a checklist, because it does not come in a box. But a bearded dragon needs a basking bulb and a UVB fixture running 12 to 14 hours a day, 365 days a year, plus a heat source in winter if your house gets cold at night. That is a heat lamp burning in your living room for roughly 5,000 hours a year. It shows up on your power bill whether you notice it or not. Call it $150 a year. It is invisible, it is unavoidable, and over a decade, it quietly becomes one of the biggest numbers in this entire video. Number 3. Lighting. $100 to $180 to set up. And here is the part that catches people. $80 to $120 again, every single year, forever. UVB bulbs degrade. This is the single most misunderstood fact in this hobby. The bulb keeps producing visible light long after it has stopped producing usable UVB, which means it looks like it is working perfectly while your dragon is slowly developing a deficiency underneath it. Depending on the type, you are replacing it every 6 to 12 months, regardless of whether it has burned out. This is also where the coil bulb conversation happens. Those small screw-in compact UVB bulbs sold in most starter kits produce a narrow, weak output that does not cover the animal properly. What you want is a linear tube fixture running the length of the enclosure, paired with a separate basking bulb for heat. If you take one purchasing decision away from this video, make it this one. Lighting is where cheap gear does actual physical damage. Number 2. Food. $25 to $60 a month while the dragon is growing. $15 to $30 a month once it is an adult. A baby bearded dragon eats an astonishing quantity of live insects. At a handful. Dozens per day. Multiple feedings every single day. 4 months. Adults slow down to a few feedings a week and shift mostly to greens, so this cost drops sharply after the first year. But that first year is brutal. Buying insects individually at a pet store is the most expensive possible way to do this, and it is what most new owners do. Bulk ordering cuts it substantially. Breeding your own colony cuts it further, and about 1 in 5 owners eventually goes down that road, usually after the 3rd time they pay retail for a cup of crickets. Fresh greens on top of that. Collards, mustard greens, squash, and whatever else rotates through. 15 to 20 a month. And yes, a meaningful percentage of it goes in the trash uneaten. Year 1. Food realistically runs $400. After that, closer to $250. Number 1. And this is the one that ends ownership. Veterinary care. A routine exotics visit runs $75 to $150. Out to dog vet. An exotics vet, and depending on where you live, there may be one in your city or there may be none, and you may be driving 2 hours each way. Then there is the rest of it. A fecal test for parasites. Treatment for an impaction. Radiographs if something's wrong internally. An emergency visit for a prolapse or an egg-bound female. These run from $200 to well over $1,000, and there is no pet insurance market for reptiles that resembles what exists for dogs and cats. You pay cash at the counter on the day. Here is what nobody prepares you for. A bearded dragon is very good at hiding illness right up until the point where it is critical. That is not a flaw in the animal. It is a prey species doing exactly what evolution built it to do, which means reptile vet costs do not arrive gradually. They arrive all at once on a Tuesday for $800. Budget $200 a year that you may not spend, so that the year you need $1,200. It does not become a decision about whether you can afford to treat your pet. So let us total it. Year 1, doing this correctly. Somewhere between $900 and $1,400. Enclosure, lighting, setup, the animal, food, supplements, power, and 1 vet visit. Every year after that, roughly $600 to $800. And a bearded dragon in good conditions lives 10 to 15 years, which means the true cost of that $60 lizard across its life lands somewhere between $7,000 and $11,000. That is the number. That is the one nobody puts on the tag. Now here's what I actually want you to take from this, because it is not do not get a bearded dragon. Almost every horror story in this hobby comes from the same place. Someone buys the animal for $60, buys a $40 starter kit because that is what is on the shelf next to it, and then discovers over the following 18 months that the real costs were sitting in a category they never budgeted for. And the dragon pays for that gap. Undersized enclosure, dying UVB bulb, skipped supplements, delayed vet visit. People who do this well are not the ones who spend the most. They are the ones who knew the number going in. If you are thinking about getting one, run these figures against your actual budget before you go to the store, not after. And if you already have one, look at your UVB bulb tonight and try to remember the last time you changed it. If you cannot remember, that is your answer. I have put everything I actually use and recommend down in the description, organized by category, so you do not have to guess which version of any of this is the right one. It is the same gear I would tell a friend to buy. And if this saved you from a mistake, the next video goes deeper on what your dragon is actually thinking when it stares at you. That one surprised me while I was making it.